Okay.
Okay. Here. Did I tell you when the kid we used to have in the house dumbwaiters? You know what a dumbwaiter is?
Mm-hmm.
And it used to, Super used to, they had like a old buzzer. We, about 6 o'clock in the evening, we buzz, and he had like a little thing that came up to your door. Sometimes you opened up the dumbwaiter door, and it was not the right height, so you tell them higher or lower, depending upon, and then you put the pail in the dumbwaiter, and you take it down, and a few minutes later, you come back, he'd buzz you again, and you took your pail out. You know, in those days, when I say pail, it was actually a pail because we didn't have, there was no plastics yet. There was no, there was cellophane, and then there was wax paper. There was no, in fact, that's what you used to go into the grocery store, and the guy who was behind the counter, wasn't like a supermarket. That came later. The grocer was behind the counter, and behind him was like a big refrigerator with a big tub of butter, and he had with a knife, and he would ask you how much butter you wanted, a quarter pound, half a pound, and he would cut off a piece and throw it on the scale and wrap it up in wax paper. That's the way they did it. Even cream cheese. In fact, cream cheese used to come in a little wooden box, and we always when they threw out the boxes, sometimes we even went in and asked them for a box, and they used to make a whole toy out of the cream cheese box, and we used to cut little slits into the box, and then we stand and try to throw a marble into the slit. Mm-hmm. In fact, if I had the box and I said, all right, and you had the marbles, I say, okay, if you can get this marble into the box, I'll give you 3 marbles for every marble you throw in. You know, it was like, and if you don't get it in, well, then marble belongs to me. This was that type of things. And you know what we also used to play with? The bottle tops. It's called checkers. And in those days, they had underneath the bottle top. First of all, you didn't have rip-offs like they have now. You had to actually have a bottle opener, and we used to play games with them. Mm-hmm. Hit and spans, and we said it used to sort of the checker down, and then you had like 2 checkers, and you had to span it. And if you can span it with your hand, you won. If you couldn't span it, then you lost.
So if you had bigger hands,
what?
If you had big hands, you had a better chance of.
Well, in other words, we would try to throw the checker closer to the other guy's checker, or checker, bottle top, to the other guy's bottle top. Now, if you throw it close enough to span it, you were able to take his. Mm-hmm. If you didn't, then he took yours.
Uh-huh.
So, then we used to play. What was the other game? Oh yeah, kick the can around the corner. It was take like 4 corners on a street, and we kicked the guy in the middle. You kicked the can, and you had to run to the next corner. You know, just like a baseball game. Now, if he was able to retrieve the can and get back to the corner that you started at before you got to the next corner, then you were it, and you had to go to the middle. If not, he had to keep trying again. This was and we kicked the can. We didn't just actually we physically throw it. Mm-hmm. These the type of things we used to play. Johnny on a Pony. Mm-hmm. I get you, man. I almost got a broken back from that. So jump all over each other.
I went to the movies with Mia on Friday night, and she was asking me when I was a kid how much the movies cost. And then she said, when Grandpa was a kid, wasn't it like $1? I said, no, it was a lot less than $1. It was like 25 cents.
No, when I used to go to a movie, it was 10 cents. Later on, it's not going to start going up. Well, the local movie, the Loews or the RKO were a little more money, but the local movie houses were, I say, on Saturday, that's how the whole thing with the quarter. That when I was able to get a quarter, most of the time I wasn't able to, but if I got a quarter, I was able to, and 10 cents was for the movie. That's it. And it was called the local movie house, the Tiffany movie. And the Tiffany movie was on Tiffany Street. But of course it's a whole different, a whole different thing, a whole different lifestyle. You know, I always talk about Artie and Nat. Artie, one of the things I have to give Artie a lot of credit, because when I met Artie, I had a bad case of
Acne?
acne, and I was very shy, didn't bother with girls, afraid to talk to a girl. Well, every time I talked to a girl, they would immediately walk away. But when I met Artie, it was time to clear up a little bit, and he was very outgoing. First of all, he was a very good dresser for his day, and he was very, he wasn't shy about going over, hi, hello there, and start having a whole conversation with a girl. Running out of film, all right.
No.
And he helped me get more socially active than I was, because I was not bothered with girls. He helped me become much more sociable. We used to do a whole bunch of different so-called comic routines. We would go back and forth and like to impress a girl or a bunch of girls. We done all sorts of corny jokes, which I'm sure you've heard over the years. We're talking about a band, an orchestra band. Joe Banana and his Bunch, a band with appeal. Ha ha ha. That type of thing. Well, this is a summertime joke. Some of the time you laugh, some of the time you don't. Yeah, on and on. We had a whole bunch of different things. And he helped me get out of my shell and start making me a little more active. Nat was a whole different story. Nat was an intellectual type, very well read. He had gone to college. He is very politically oriented. He liked classical music. I think I learned a lot about a lot of different things from that. So two different. They didn't get along. In fact, I always used to say I'm the bologna between the two slices of bread, because Nat and Artie were tolerated each other. That's about the best I can say. But they didn't really. They weren't very friendly. In fact, at many a time, either one would say to me, "How come you're friendly with the other guy?" Nat would say it to me about Artie, or Artie would say it to him about Nat. But they're both it's very important parts in my life. And later on, Herb became a very good friend, these were I said, really important friends. I mean, I had a lot of other guys I can name a lot of different names. Some of them I've forgotten the names of I was friendly with, but tell you a story about Joe Cooper. He was a real Michiganer. We went out to, I think it was Rockaway, and we rented a room and stay overnight. And we went the next morning into a restaurant. It was a third guy whose name I don't remember. And we went into this restaurant and we ordered breakfast. I'll have eggs, a couple of scrambled eggs. The other guy said, also, I'll also have, and he says, I want also scrambled eggs, but I want 3 eggs. All right, so, and they brought them over, 3 eggs. Then we walked out, we went over to the cashier and said, what'd you have? So the first guy says, eggs, and I said, eggs. So Joe says, also eggs. He didn't say that they had 3 eggs. Then I remember we met a couple of girls on the boardwalk, and I take a look. I say, Joe, these are kids. We were about maybe 18, 20 already. These look like 12 or 14-year-olds. I mean, remember there was one very pretty girl, but she was still a kid. I said, Joe, let's get out of here. This is not for us. No. And he kept on talking. Finally, she says, do you know how old I am? She says, no. And she told him, I said, he was like 14 or something like that. And he says, well, how about if I'm be your big brother? He was a Michiganer. I know I went to his wedding where I was an usher half a dozen times for different guys. Abe. Abe was a very shy guy. Very nice guy, but very quiet. Got a second name, And he went in, he was seeing this girl, but very casually, Gladys. And he would really, I always ask him, why are you going to her? He says, well, she's just somebody to go out with. I mean, I'm not really yet. Well, Abe went into the Army, and when Abe was in the Army, Gladys used to go up to Abe's house and write letters for his parents, to Abe in the Army, and she endeared herself to Abe's parents. So when Abe came out of the Army, his parents kept on saying, she's the girl for you. She's such a wonderful. She came and she did and she wrote and so they talked him into marrying Gladys. Well, he married Gladys, and right after he got Gladys, he married Gladys. She didn't want to have anything whatsoever to do with his parents. So I remember meeting his father on the street, because they lived in and he started cursing her, calling her a whore, calling her all sorts of dirty names. That he felt so betrayed by the fact, whether this, whatever happened to them, I don't know. Did I ever tell you how Artie met his wife? This is a really, you say, there's a very unusual. I was seeing some girl, I don't even remember her name. I was just dating. This week I had this one, next week I went out with that one, and I called up this girl for a date. Oh yeah, Artie was in the Army at this time, but he was stationed over in Fort Dix, New Jersey, and he was coming home pretty much every weekend for a furlough. You know the story? No. And he's coming home for a weekend pass, and so. This girl says to me, you got a friend for my friend, we have a double date. I say, well, I have this friend who's in the Army, but he usually comes home the weekend. She says, well, are you sure he's going to come home? I say, it's not up to him, it's up to the Army. I say, he's usually been coming. She says, well, you better get somebody you know for sure. Okay, so I took John Doe, I don't remember who. Well, we come up to the girl's house, and no sooner than by the time we walk out of the house, the guy that I brought and this other second girl are having an argument. I don't know what happened. It was like, so we get downstairs, and the girls that I was supposed to go out with calls me over and says, I don't think this is going to work. And I say, yeah, I agree with you. So I say, I'll call you some other time. Well, we go back to my area, and I say, just for the heck of it, I'm going to go up to Artie's house, see if he did come in this weekend. And sure enough, there's Artie. And I tell him the story. I said, you know, I was going to set up a date with a girl who didn't want me to set it up with you because she wasn't sure you were going to come home. So I took along Jean Doe there, and he said, all right. Well, Artie goes off to Korea, comes back from Korea, and we're back to the so-called, you know, I've seen me where I've seen a half dozen different other girls, and I call up this girl. Also, I have a friend would you have a guy for? I say, well, this time Artie, yeah. So I take along Artie. Well, we go up to the house, and it's the same girl that this guy that they had the argument with. It was Charlotte, and he wound up marrying her, and they had, well, two kids.
Yeah.
Now that's what you call, well, in Jewish it's called b'sher. It's like it was ordained.
Right.
I think it's a very, this is a true story. That's just exactly how Artie met Charlotte. And
now, did Artie see combat in Korea?
I mean,
Did Artie see combat in Korea?
no, he was in some sort of he was doing some sort of clerical work in the back of, didn't actually see. I had a whole bunch of friends that was in. I went for a physical, and they said they turned me down, not because of my eyes and not because of, well, wasn't wearing a hearing aid yet, but I had a problem with my testicles. And they said, in fact, the doctor, the guy who examined me said I ought to see a doctor about it. In fact, I did go in for an operation. And that's
I didn't know this.
What's that?
I didn't know this. But obviously you fathered two children, so...
In fact, I went to the what hospital? The Columbia Presbyterian, because that's where I had the original operation when I was a baby, and they pulled out my file and they had a picture of me. At least they said it was me, because I standing there in the nude, and somebody's holding my hand, and I'm crying. And one funny story about that. After the operation, I remember they had like a day room where people were all sitting around watching television. And they were giving me, I guess, penicillin shots. So nurse comes in and she says, it's time for your penicillin shots. So I started to get up. She says, no, I can give it to you right here. But they were given to me in my rear end. I said, what? She says, no, roll up your sleeve. And I got